Hey everyone, it's another week of Find Your Film. We have some really good movies this week. Interesting movies. Actually, the three movies we're covering are Limbo, and what is the zombie movie called? It is called Sam and Maddie. What is it called? The zombie movie?
Sam and Maddie make a zombie movie.
Sam and Maddie
Yes.
make a zombie movie. Okay, that's my bad because
Mm,
I should actually give it the full name. Eric Holmes is clapping, so that's one thing that he wants to. I'm sure he's really excited about seeing that, talking about that movie. That's the movie he's spearheading this week. And last but not least is a Shudder release, Boys of Hell County. That was a movie that Bruce wanted to watch, he being a fan of Shudder. So, Bruce Purkey, how have you been, man, the last week? Have you been cramming a lot of movies trying to watch 5 movies in one day? Is that your rate of return on this?
I think
What's going on?
I did like 3 movies in one day because my wife was doing some medical stuff. So I had a 2-day kind of a blackout period. So I had to do some movies in the front end and then get a couple more in before this. So yeah, fair amount.
Doesn't your brain hurt, Bruce, when you go back to back to back on movies? Come on. Really? Too much.
Good. It's cool.
You
As long as
cool?
there's a variety. Yeah, as long as there's
Okay.
variety there.
We're also in the middle of this podcast. We're welcoming a buddy, Chad Wilfong. He is part of our Cinematics Facebook group community. He came in and he purchased The People Under the Stairs. That's part of Eric Holmes's $25 giveaway Entertainment giveaway segment. We're going to air that as well. And it's really interesting because we're going to have a discussion of Wes Craven and The People Under the Stairs. Speaking of Entertainment, physical media, etc. Eric Holmes, what have you been buying the last week? Have you been going to Entertainment? Have you been purchasing DVDs, or have you just been so busy with work and everything else that you haven't had the time?
Actually, I've been busy trying to keep up with the screener links we've been getting. A lot of the movies I've been seeing, I can't even talk about right now because they're like a embargo for another week or two. But
Eric Holmes, did you do the Bass Ackwards thing where we have 5 links and you decide to watch the links that are we have to watch in 2 weeks, and then last minute you did? Okay. Alrighty.
Yeah, but yeah, I do got a couple here. I got one Until the End of the World. Found out that movie's like 5 hours long, so it's gonna take a bit to get to that one.
You purchased that at Entertainment, Until the End of the World 5-hour cut?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Is that Jarmusch?
No.
Wim Wenders. It's Wim
Yeah,
Wenders.
Wim
Wenders. Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say
I haven't
Wim
seen it,
Wenders,
obviously.
but,
It's
and
Wim
then and they got two of the Shout Factory in the Mouth of Madness and Prince of Darkness. Those are two
cool.
John Carpenter's I haven't seen recently enough to remember them in any meaningful way. So I was like, they're here. I'll pick them up and see what they got.
Those are very good purchases.
But yeah, this is the Until the End of the World, and we're gonna have to. I believe Sam Neill's in this, so maybe I'll do this and In the Mouth of Madness as a double feature. So that'll take a good 10 hours to get through all that.
Well, if they actually, Eric Holmes, if they actually have the theatrical cut of Until the End of the World, can you do our listeners a favor and watch the theatrical cut, which I believe is only 3 hours, and then on top of that, can you watch the 5-hour director's cut as well, and tell us what are the little nuances that are missing? What are those 2 hours that Wim Wenders decided to leave out in the theatrical cut? Please.
Now I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but so far, just based on the little I've seen, I know that Darkseid is in this. Cyborg has a bigger part, and there is so much character development in this version that's unreal.
Sneaky deaky, folks, if you've been listening to our last 4 or 5 Find Your Film episodes, Eric Holmes has this running joke, and I just realized right now that he tries to mention the Snyder Cut every single week. Bruce, did you notice that did you notice this 3 weeks ago? Did I just notice that he's been putting this in every week with the Snyder Cut? Did you notice this?
I think I've been putting it in too, but I just didn't ever see it. So.
Okay, so we'll listeners, check out our previous episode where Bruce and Eric Holmes give their honest opinions regarding the Snyder Cut. Also regarding along the same lines, you can look at past episodes to see what they think of that masterpiece from Apple TV called Apple TV Plus called Cherry. I'm gonna break it to you guys. I'm the only one who really loved that movie. So that's a great discussion. But Until the End of the World and a bunch of Carpenter films, really interesting. I can't wait till you get to talk about those movies down the road, Eric Holmes. But first, do we have any we have one rewind this week. Eric Holmes has got what is your rewind this week before once we get into our main movies?
Did you want to ask read my name and ask what that means?
Read Stowaway?
No, the name I got.
Eric Spears. Yeah, what does that mean? What is your name? Spears.
No, it's like Britney Spears, because I saw The Innocence by Jack Clayton.
Oh, you saw The Innocence. Okay, very cool. Again, one of these days we're going to be sued by millions and millions of dollars by some kind of music publishers. I don't know. Please, we're just a little potty. So potty pod. So don't sue us regarding The Innocence. We're going to get to The Innocence. You know what? Before we get to our main movie reviews, Bruce Purkey, can you just I credit you regarding The Innocence first. Why is The Innocence considered, I guess, in many ways, a classic? And then we'll get into Eric. I want to hear what Eric has to say about The Innocence.
Oh, wow. Okay, on the spot. To me, it's just the incredibly eerie mood that it creates without doing anything especially jump scary. It has the setting, it has these two kids, and it has what is she, the
headmistress, governess kind of thing?
governess. Yeah. And
Deborah Carr.
It just sets it up, and the way that is shot, and the way that they put the grounds and the manor and the statues and everything, it's just one of the creepiest movies I've ever seen, and it's just beautiful.
Okay, now here's the bad news. I have bad news for you, guys. I just went to Just Watch right now. It's probably on DVD or Blu-ray, or maybe I can't wait till Eric talks about how he was able to see The Innocence. But right now, it's not streaming anywhere. So hopefully, this is not good right now. But by the time you listen to this, or maybe down the road, you'll be able to see The Innocence. For me personally, before we get into Eric Holmes' review, this is a great double feature with the others, The Innocence and the others. If you smash them in together, they're very good. But this one, The Innocence, is black and white. And Eric, the reason why we're starting with your review is, I'm going to spoil it right now, The Innocence is the best movie we're going to cover this week. Okay, so let's hear it from Eric Holmes. Please tell me that you like this movie. What did you think of this horror mystery thriller made in 1961 called The Innocence?
Well, first of all, I saw it on YouTube. So it was streaming on YouTube, at least as of yesterday. So
okay.
Maybe you're listening to it now and it's not on there anymore. But yesterday, when I saw it, YouTube's what I saw it on. I do that song that plays over and over again. That had that burn in my head, and for some reason I can't sing it now because I can't remember it. I don't know how that works. I'm glad you said the others, because this whole movie, I was like, oh, they're all dead, aren't they? Like that's just, I thought, oh, and then I started thinking, what was others, like a remake of this? That's not what this movie is, though. And I was so glad to see that, not that, oh, they ripped off the others, but I kind of saw that coming like a mile away, and then turns out that wasn't it at all. And it's going in a completely different direction. This movie is really creepy. I think it works best because, like, the kids, the kids do creepy stuff, and not like look how creepy I am, but like They're just, like the son's just, the boy's just looking at what's her name, Miss Giddens. He's just staring at her, and she's like, "What are you staring at?" And he's just staring at her, and then I'm like, "Yeah, dude, what the fuck are you staring at?" and then. She just kind of like, okay, and gets up and walks out. So like, there's something wrong with these kids. But then they do these other things where it's like, well, wait, maybe it's not the kids, maybe it's her. So like the whole time, I'm like, I don't know what's not that I can't follow the plot. I can follow the plot, but I don't know. It's an unreliable narrator thing, which I guess can be played out, especially nowadays, but this came out in 1961, so fuck off. I'm watching a 1961 unreliable narrator. And this was just done really well. And I was kind of surprised by it.
Well, they mentioned the word atmospheric is thrown around so many times, but I think this is, when you think atmospheric, do you guys agree that this is really
the stuff next to the pond? Some of those scenes next to the pond are just beautiful, but they're also, you would never think a daylight scene next to a pond in a 1960, was it 61 or 62
61
movie would be creepy, and it is. I don't know if it's just the way it's shot or the music or the combination, but it's really good.
There was one bit at the end where the little girl's like screaming bloody murder. I had to kind of I didn't fast forward it, but I really wanted to fast forward at that part because hearing kids scream at the top of their lungs doesn't instill fear in me. It instills, what are you screaming about? Go in your but other than that, I would say this is a damn fine horror movie. It's probably psychological thriller type.
Yeah.
And like textbook psychological thriller, I would say.
Yeah, it's directed by Jack Clayton, and it's based on the story, of course, The Turn of the Screw, written by Henry James. The reason why Bruce Purkey, I'm putting words in your mouth, Bruce Purkey. One of the reasons why he's been championing this movie, and we reviewed it way back when, during the early days of Find Your Film, was because as classic as this movie is, when you mention Henry James movies, The Innocents rarely comes up unless you are a huge cinephile. So this is a classic, but this is one of those movies. Eric Holmes was saying he found it on YouTube. I just checked on YouTube. As of this recording, you can, for free, watch it on YouTube. Okay? Corporate big men and women, please don't go after us. It's on YouTube, public domain. It is. How was it transferred, Eric? Were you able to watch it? Was it good enough to look at as far as the actual?
The version I saw looked really good. Wow. I was also going to say, because this almost ruined the movie for me, because I was thinking, and this is why I brought it up at the beginning. I was thinking that this was where the others got their idea from.
Sure.
And then there was a lot of part of the movie where I was just in my head on like, I was basically ruining the movie for myself, trying to anticipate something coming. I would say if you're going to watch this, don't try to figure it out. Just let the movie happen. It's probably not going to go where you think it's going to go anyway, but don't even try to figure the movie out. Just watch it and enjoy it. If you did what I did, it'll probably really annoy you. And that's not, that wasn't the movie's fault. That was my fault doing that. So I would warn others to, you'll see things that are familiar, just ignore it and just let the movie hit you. And it'll pay off in dividends by the time you get to the end.
Pay off in dividends, definitely. Bruce, you agree with that? I think it's very normal to catch those same beats if you're thinking the others and all these other movies. But I think one of the reasons why, Eric, you were able to enjoy the movie is because the movie, with its atmosphere, the pacing, the acting, it just envelops you. It really does. And I know we have to actually watch movies for next week. The first movie I probably want to see is I probably just want to rewatch The Innocents on YouTube right now. So it's really frustrating. Not complaining that we have to get to see all these movies, but I really want to do a rewatch. Eric, you were going to say something? What?
Martin Stevenson, the kid played Miles.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's so good. Oh my God. You want to talk about like top 10 child performances? That's got to be up there. Unless he was like 30 and only looked like he was 10, then I take that back. But he was quite good because he had to play like much older than he is, almost like he's embodying like a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old, like a old man. And he just nailed it. I don't know how they got that performance out of a kid, but kudos on them.
Kudos, definitely. As we're recording right now, you guys are going to wait for 10 seconds while I go downstairs and tell my mom that we forgot Claire's backpack. So I'll be back in about 15 seconds. Okay. Right. And I'll cut this. Okay.
Greg's gonna cut this gold. I'm singing this song about gold. Hey, Bruce, do you like that gold?
Gold.
This is a gold standard, and Greg's gonna cut it all out. Love you, Greg.
Non-fungible tokens.
They forgot her backpack and her water and everything like that. So
you might want to listen. You might want to listen to that before you cut it out. Just letting you know.
What happened?
Nothing. You might
I yelled.
To that before you cut it out.
I'll cut it out. I'll cut out where I yelled at my mom. I wasn't yelling at her. It was just I was trying to get.
No, not that. Just maybe listen to that last part before you cut it out.
Okay. What did I say? Something? What did I say?
No, you didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. Okay. I'll check out the last part. Okay. So all right. So that is The Innocents. It is currently playing on YouTube. Hopefully, by the time you listen to this, we will be able to actually you'll be either A, see it on YouTube, or hopefully it's on Blu-ray, DVD, streaming. Definitely catch this movie. Now, regarding our first main review is, I think, an acquired taste. It's a really huge acquired taste. This is a warning. This is also an encouragement. If you are on one side, I think you're going to really love it. There is going to be a different side as well. So let's start off with this movie called Limbo. Hits theaters on Friday, April 30th, and it centers on the Syrian who is a refugee. He is not stranded. He's living with other refugees in this island, in the Scottish island, and he's waiting for, I guess, asylum. He's waiting for some kind of asylum, and he and the other people, several other people living in this, not outhouses, domicile, they're just in quote unquote limbo until hopefully they get asylum. I was excited to see this movie because I actually had a whole bunch of interviews slated for the director and the cast and crew for this movie. I had no idea. I accidentally screwed up, and I didn't know I didn't know that the certain day that I was supposed to interview these people because I didn't get the link. So I wanted to do the mea culpa and actually review the movie and watch Limbo. And Eric Holmes was actually first on the spot regarding Limbo. When you look at the trailer, it's very dry wit, comedic. And I want to see what Eric Holmes thinks of Limbo right off the top.
Well, I didn't see the trailer. Just watched the movie. And this has that very heavy Wes Anderson, Jared Hess kind of flavor to it. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the past that I'm not a Wes Anderson fan. And I do recognize the talent there. And I do recognize that other people do like that. And maybe if you like the Wes Anderson type movies, this is going to be something you can latch onto. I'm not that person. I hate that style of filmmaking. And therefore I hated this movie. But it's not I don't think it's I don't even feel like I should review this movie because it has nothing to do with what the movie did right or wrong. This is 100%. I'm not a fan of this style of filmmaking, and it just lost me almost immediately. It does kind of change up at the last half, especially like towards the end. It kind of becomes its own thing. And I did appreciate that, but by that time I was too quirked out to even care. And but this I would say that if you're a fan of Wes Anderson, as I am not, this might be something that you would probably like a lot, or maybe not. I don't know why Wes Anderson fans like him, but
Is there a Wes Anderson film that you actually love?
Really, I like Bottle Rocket, and I like Fantastic Mr. Fox, and that's about it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And again, I saw Grand Budapest Hotel, which I don't even know why I saw that, because by then I knew full well that I didn't like Wes Anderson. But like I watched Grand Budapest Hotel and I'm like, wow, that movie's amazing. I just hate watching it. I mean, I recognize the talent there. It's just not for me.
But you personally would not recommend this movie because it's not for
people. I wouldn't recommend it to people like me that hate Wes Anderson. I might recommend it to other people that do like that kind of, that kind of quirk or that Wes Anderson kind of charm to it. It's just the humor doesn't land with me. The pacing doesn't land with, like, none of that lands with me. But there's other people that just eat it up. And for those people, I would recommend this to, because this might be more up their alley than it is mine.
Written and directed by Ben Sharrock, Sharrock. And the lead actor is Amir El Masri. He plays Omar, the Syrian. He's also a musician. He plays this instrument. I believe it's called the oud. O-U-D. That's one of the running plot points in the movie is though Omar is a musician, he has his oud with him. I believe that's how you pronounce it. The big challenge of the movie is he's really reluctant to play his instrument because of obviously the trauma he's undergone just from moving country to country and just in seeking asylum, and of course being away from the ones that he loves. Bruce Purkey, obviously different strokes for different folks, whether you love Wes Anderson, if you love dry wit or a certain kind of approach to the narrative. What was your take on Limbo?
I started out right in Eric's camp. Like, I would say for the first 35, 40 minutes, I was at least 1.5 feet out the door. And I'm, as far as Wes Anderson goes, I'm I'm kind of middle of the road. I don't think I love any of his movies. There's some I like, but I'm not like a fan. I'm not a hater. So I guess I'm a little more susceptible to possibly going with this kind of style, I guess. But I don't think I've done a bigger swing on a movie for quite a long time. I don't think I've been so hard out on a movie early and all the way around to really loving it by the end. I really ended up loving this movie by the end. And I think part of it was eventually I got enough from the characters and the situation as it went on, and it started to slowly change, like Eric was talking about, that I kind of was able to just release and actually get into the rhythm of it and really enjoy it. Plus, I started to feel like he uses the quirk and the stylized like compositions, I think, a little differently than Anderson does. Because I think Wes Anderson kind of does this thing where he's kind of trying to show you how kind of cool he is or something. I always get that feeling like he's kind of saying like, look at how awesome I am. But I don't feel like the characters a lot of times really have anything below what they are, what they're presented as in the surface. But this movie, I feel like Omar, when we watch him, you really, by the end, if you buy in, I think there is a real arc. There's a real character. I think he does an amazing job, the main character, the actor there. And I think some of the stuff at the end is genuinely beautiful. I got put up the point where it changed. This is the point where I changed, and I'll see what you think, Greg. He takes a trip to an island. Off of the island they're on, I guess it's the island, maybe it's the mainland. He takes a trip to go, I think, recapture some sheep in the snow. And that scene was like, that's where things just kind of turned for me, because at that point I was bought in totally.
Yeah, Limbo is an acquired taste. It is one of those movies. I understand Eric Holmes, where Eric Holmes was going regarding the movie. He quote unquote hates the movie. That is a very strong opinion, but in fairness to him hating the movie, he gives a caveat he gives a qualifier saying it's Wes Anderson movies aren't for him. And I'm gonna have to agree with that review. That if Wes Anderson, or if a certain style or rhythm or pacing regarding the narrative isn't for you, there's going to be people who will be detractors of Limbo, and they're going to say a big part of this movie is really much ado about nothing, and it is self-conscious, and the pacing slow, and I was bored out of my skull. For me, I absolutely fell in love everything about Limbo. Thanks to Eric Holmes, I was ready for the pace of the movie. I primed myself for a sublime, meditative, oftentimes frustrating experience, frustrating in the sense that you become so invested in Omar's plight of living a life seemingly of inertia and nothingness that it's a frustrating watch. And sometimes all these beautiful compositions, for me personally, they actually helped speed along the narrative, because I love looking at pretty pictures. And sometimes there are parts in this movie that are just really tough to watch because Omar is going through a lot, and he's processing a lot of this stuff internally. So I think this is one of these movies, if you just really, like Bruce said, if you really soak into the environment and become fully engaged in Omar's story. And to back up Eric's point, if you are one of those people who likes or appreciates or pretty much jibes to this type of humor, you're going to love Limbo. But there is that line. It is not a catch-all movie. I highly recommend Limbo as far as a sublime cinematic experience. This is one of those movies that I hope it catches a wider audience. And I hope, most importantly, it catches the audience who likes this type of film. But I'm so glad that Eric, actually, I'm so glad that you brought that review up, because one, this movie needs to exist, but it also, don't you agree? Yeah. There has to be some kind of warning as well.
Yeah. And again, it's, I hate this movie, but if you don't like tomatoes, I don't care how well someone makes tomato soup. You're not going to like the tomato soup.
Yeah.
This is a fine tomato soup, but I don't like tomatoes. Actually, I love tomatoes, but you get the simile, I guess.
Yeah.
The only difference I would say with this, and I'll just bring this up quickly, is there's a scene in the last third, and Eric can probably come with me a little bit on this one, where he's just sitting next to a fireplace, and there's a certain conversation happening there, which shows me this director can easily do something different. And I don't feel like Wes Anderson can do anything different anymore. I don't think he can if he even tried. Whereas this director, I can imagine he might do something absolutely different with the next movie. And I trust that he shows enough care and ability in this movie that this whole kind of Wes Anderson vibe may just be something he never has to go back to. It'll be interesting to see.
It'll be definitely. I'm so glad that you love it. If you want to read more, if you want to learn more about Bruce Purkey's thoughts on Limbo, he actually wrote a print review on the site, our site, deepestdream.com. You can check it out on Deepest Dream.
It's really short. It just says Eric hates this movie. That's all I wrote.
Very good.
Does it say Limbo is a turd?
Yeah. I was thinking about it as I was writing. I was like, I totally know that people are going to hate this movie. And I felt like this might be my painted bird. I mean, I might come in and be the only one who likes this movie today. So
yeah, no. I'm surprised you didn't think I was going to really flip for this, Bruce. I really did flip for it. The ending was very sublime for me. Very, very resonant, emotional. And Bruce was talking about he sees Ben Sharrock, I believe that's his name, going someplace. And I think one of the things that credit to him, he sticks the landing by not overloading us with emotion and saccharin and syrup at the end of Limbo. It's a perfect landing. Very, very well done. But anyways, you guys were treated to a well-rounded review regarding Limbo. So whatever camp you're in, just be warned, be forewarned. You might love it or you might actually hate it. So that is Limbo, Friday, April 30th in theaters. Our next review is the zombie movie that I can't get the name, and I apologize. Sam and Mattie. What is it? Sam and Mattie make a zombie movie. Eric Holmes.
Yep.
Okay.
Sam
Eric.
and Mattie make a zombie movie.
Yes, and I'm gonna say this every single week. I tell Bruce, I can't tell Bruce and Eric anything because I'm not their boss. Okay, they are my boss. Okay, and I plead with them. Hey, you know what, guys? On a daily basis, I don't do my job as a journalist. Can you guys fill me in on movies that we have to see for the podcast? Eric Holmes, why was this movie something that was on your radar? Why did you want to see this movie?
Actually, I believe the Movie Bears covered this on their South by Southwest.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure because they covered a bunch of movies, but I believe this was one of them. And it's called Sam and Mattie Make a Zombie Movie. They got two best friends. They're brothers, but they're not brothers. Brothers by the heart. They're connected from and they both have Down syndrome, and they both want to make a zombie movie. And like right away, I'm like, well, let's fucking see this. But before I go on, is the last half a spoiler?
No, not at all.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I just wanted to make sure before I said anything. I was watching this, and I love the people. I almost say characters, but they're not characters. They're actual people because it's a documentary about Sam and Mattie, and they want to make a zombie movie. They like horror movies. They like zombie movies. They like action movies, and they just they show little bits and pieces of like home movies they made back in the day, but they got an idea for the greatest movie ever made, and they want to make that movie. So it kind of it follows them around on their quest to make this movie. I believe it was called Slumber Party Zombie Massacre.
It is called the Spring Break Massacre. Yes.
Spring Break. I was close. That's even better.
Yeah.
But the problem I had with it was, look, this documentary is cute and all, but I want to see their movie. And I was getting kind of annoyed with the documentary. And then about halfway through the documentary, the narrator said, "And without further ado, here's their movie."
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's so awesome, right?
Yeah. And
basically you're getting two movies for the price of one with this.
Yeah. The whole first half is a documentary about Sam and Mattie making their zombie movie, and the last half is their movie. And oh my God, is it glorious? I want to see every movie Sam and Mattie ever make from here on out.
Bruce, what did you think of this movie?
Yeah, I mean, this is impossible not to like this movie. I mean, well, unless you just have no soul. So we might find out that Greg hates this movie. So
yeah, well, let's wait till we get to me.
So anyway, yeah, I was exactly in the same camp. One thing I really liked was, so early on, so obviously they're not going to have the technical ability to do all the parts. So they're going to have to get people to help them out. But what I really loved was that in general, the people let them make the decisions, and they just try to only rein it in as far as like, well, we can't do this big of a thing, but we could do this thing. So just maybe some limitations as far as budget or something. But and they didn't let them have all the nudity they wanted. That was one thing that kept coming up. They kept saying like, and lots of naked girls. And they're like, we're not going to do quite so much of that. So there's a few points where they had to be reined in a little bit there. But otherwise, they let them do crazy things. Like there's one point early on where it's like, both your characters are being born in a flashback at the same time in the same room, and then this happens, and that's then it's like you get to see unbridled creativity come to fruition. And
Can we say that's one of the most traumatic birth sequences we've ever seen in our lives?
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Dude, the devil.
Yeah.
That he goes around every time he gets done laying waste, he just has to pee on the floor.
Yeah. We won't give away too much because it's really fun to see it. It's fun to see the little bits, and I think what Eric said is it's right on. You get to see some of their creative process enough that you're wanting to see like what came out of it. Then you get to actually see it, so you get to see all of the pieces of what they had come up with, and it's pretty damn glorious.
Did you guys ever go on the website realultimatepower.com? Is some guy just typing a bunch of stuff. He's like writing all these super pump up scripts, and it's about ninjas and how awesome they are. He'll have like lines that I was so pumped I punched my dog so hard that we both screamed. Like, that's the kind of ridiculous humor that the actual movie has, where what are you doing there? I got drugs. All right, well, you're going to jail for 3 seasons then. The dialogue, you can tell it was Sam and Mattie that came up with this dialogue, because it's like their voice comes through so well, and it's so charming and funny, and but it's not like when you say something like this is sweet, you think it's going to be like, oh shucks, isn't that nice that they did it? No, this movie is fucking badass. Like I think Mattie might be one of the greatest action stars of this or any other generation.
When he's like running with the shotgun,
and he's running around with his Miami Vice jacket and his sunglasses, just walking around just with the shotgun just blowing away. I was like, oh my god, it's so good. And the dialogue is like it's amazing, because like you can tell that they watch a lot of action movies and a lot of horror movies, and it's almost like they're kind of mimicking what they do, but they do it so well, but just off enough. And I think that's where a lot of the humor comes in this, because it's this thing is like awesome.
Like a perfect example of that, and it's not a spoiler at all for their movie. There's that every so often there'll be a problem in the movie they can't solve, and the one kind of dude bro that's not them will pop in and go like, hey, I'll hack into the system or whatever. That guy will just come out of nowhere.
Oh, I'm glad to see you kids here. I have your bionics right here. I'm like, well, of course someone's got to come up and give them their bionics.
Sam and Mattie make a zombie movie. It's currently out on VOD and cable VOD. You can get it pretty much everywhere. Yeah, available on cable VOD, digital HD, VOD. Sam and Mattie make a zombie movie. There are appearances in this movie. Director Peter Farrelly, he shows up. The movie is set in the movie/documentary set in Providence, Rhode Island. So Peter Farrelly's there. And also there's Pauly D from the Jersey Shore. He also makes an appearance in the film Sam and Mattie Make a Zombie Movie. Sam and Mattie, they're just so likable. And one of the things that if you watch this movie that you're gonna get, whether you love it or not, I really enjoy this movie, is the fact that the friends and family of Sam and Mattie, they're just excited to make a movie. And they just want to have a good time. You see the spirit of really just the general goodwill. And on top of that, the general fun it was working with Sam and Mattie to make this zombie movie. That's the big thing that comes across. And I'm not going to say what happens towards the end. There is a really nice subtle moment regarding Sam and Mattie talking about making the movie, which if you are engaged, which I'm sure you will be throughout the movie, you're going to realize why they really wanted to make the zombie movie, which I felt was very real and very, very touching without getting too sappy. Eric Holmes.
I don't know if this is a moment you're talking about, but there is a moment at the end, and I won't give it away, but they're asked if they think their movie was a success. And their answer is the only answer you can give to that kind of question.
Right. Yeah.
And I like, because the movie obviously didn't light the world on fire, because they made a documentary about it, and I don't know what this movie is. So, I guess spoiler alert there, but I mean, you would know that going in by virtue of the fact that this documentary exists. But I really, really hope, and it would be so fantastic if this documentary caught hold, and as a result, Sam and Mattie get to make more movies. They get to do another crowdfunding campaign because
100%.
what was the reason I scream, or the reason what was that other documentary we were talking about?
The Reason I Scream.
The
The reason why. Well, yeah, Bruce from Kino Lorber. The Reason I Jumped. The Reason I. What is it? What was
Yeah.
that name? Yeah,
it was about the people with developmental disabilities, how they see the world differently.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, wouldn't it be great to give them a budget to make a movie? And lo and behold, it happened like years ago, and we didn't even know about it. This is not like, and I'm talking about the movie portion. I'm talking about their movie, not the documentary, but their movie. They have their own voice, they have their own point of view. And I would love to see a bunch of movies like by them. I would love to see other movies with other people with developmental disabilities, because they have a different outlook on life. We've seen say what you will about The Room, but Tommy Wiseau is not all there, but that's a unique movie for him that only he could make. And I really would just watching this movie confirm my suspicion that people with a brain that works different than others, they're going to have something that's not going to be like we would do it, but it's definitely got their stamp on it. And I'd want to see more of this, whether it's the bloody and crazy stuff that Sam and Mattie does, or maybe it's something that we've never even seen before from someone from The Reason I Jump. But yes, more of this.
We just carve off 1/50th of the Snyder Cut budget and just push it over there,
or all of it. All of the Snyder Cut.
One of these days, guys. One of these days. Sam and Mattie make a zombie movie. Also, on a selfish matter for me, it's one of these things where you're talking about different perspectives, Eric. My close to 5-year-old niece, where every single day she comes over to the house and we pretend to have a party, and we have a pizza party. We create an entire world, and she's excited to craft something out of thin air. And I wonder, and I engage, but I'm jealous, envious, the fact that there is that fervor in creating a story. On a selfish note, Sam and Mattie make a zombie movie. Yes, we want to see them make more movies, but I was envious to see how passionate they were just to go out and do it. The enthusiasm that they had in making the movie is very pure. And I think, this is one of those movies where they say it's a sweet movie, blah, blah, blah. No, this is also a movie that'll make you envious, because you will watch this and you might say to yourself, man, I wish I had their passion. Man, I wish I could go out there and make a movie. I wish I had their guts to do it. So I really enjoyed this on a real level. And I am very envious of Sam and Mattie's passion for telling a story and just their enthusiasm. So kudos to them.
Mattie, what are you doing? Are you making out with those girls? Yeah.
All right, Bruce, that's it. Any final thoughts regarding this movie that we love so much?
I mean, come on, it's a no-brainer. You should just go watch it when you get a chance. That's all I got to say.
Okay, very good capper, Bruce Purkey. So that is Limbo. That is Sam and Mattie make it. What's the zombie movie? What is in a slumber party zombie movie? What is it, Bruce? What was the name of there?
Spring Break Zombie Massacre.
Spring Break Zombie Massacre. But the movie is called Sam and Mattie Make a Zombie Movie. And then again, 2 for 1. You get the documentary, and then you get then you get the movie that Eric Holmes mentioned. Our final featured review this week is Boys of Hell County. I'm going to stop talking because this is our Shudder segment, and this is every single week we sneak in, hopefully if we can, a Shudder recommendation from Bruce Purkey, because he is the king, the queen, the court jester, the fool, every royal member under the sun when it comes to Shudder. So I'm going to shut up regarding Shudder, and Bruce, why don't you lead us off with Boys of Hell County?
The boys, I think it's the boys from County Hell, but I don't know.
Boys from County Hell. My bad. That's Boys from County Hell.
Well, I saw it pop up. I wasn't so sure. I watched 10 minutes of it and I went, wait a second. This I have a feeling about this. And I looked up the director, Chris Bao, I don't know how to say his name. And I was right. I don't know how I knew it, but he made this little revenge flick a year, 2-3 years ago called Bad Day for the Cut. And I was like, oh, okay, now I'm really interested in this. We got to check this out. So Boys from County Hell, we've been talking lately about cheeseburger movies, and I think this definitely could qualify as a cheeseburger horror movie. Pretty straightforward. There's this little town in Ireland. Their claim to fame is what Bram Stoker
Stop by for a second.
Yeah, stop by like for like a minute, and
maybe had a pint. Maybe had a pint at the local pub or something.
Yeah, and maybe he was inspired to write Dracula. And then there's this, it's a stone pile out in this field, and they take all the tourists there and say this is where this ancient vampire is buried under this pile of stones. And that's kind of your basic concept. You start to meet these kids, there's characters in the town there, and one of them his dad gets him a job in a construction crew, and they're gonna put a road or something through there, and they want to knock down the pile of stones, and thus begins the adventure. But I think this has I guess I'll let you guys talk a little bit about it, but what I really enjoyed in this movie, other than it just has it has some good gore, it has a cool creature towards the end. It's got a really unusual way that the vampire draws his blood. And I think it has, for me, I thought the characters that kind of flow through this sort of adventure are really fun and have a lot of character and I don't know, I thought it was a really fun movie overall, period.
Solid recommend from you, Bruce.
Yeah.
Eric, what do you think?
Yes, this was very good. This does what you need to do in a movie like this. You get the vampire. We're gonna dig it up. Oh, don't do that. The audience knows that the characters shouldn't be doing this thing, but the characters have no idea. And so the story's kind of been there, done that. But the characters and the way they interact with each other, this movie isn't as good without those characters and those actors being able to bounce off each other the way they do. Sure, a lot of it has to do with writing, but I think a lot of it is the actor's personality kind of shining through, because there's not like a lot of like really flashy dialogue or anything. There's some funny lines here and there, but yeah, a lot of this is kudos to the actors and their chemistry amongst one another. The effects are pretty cool. The vampire design is really cool, and this as I mentioned to Bruce, this has a leg up on most other vampire movies, and I'll just leave that there.
Yep. Very good, Eric Holmes. Very good. There, yes.
I was gonna say one other thing. I want to really give credit. It has some really unusual scenes that don't play out the way you think it would. There's a scene where there's a kind of an offside character that was a parent of somebody who dies early on in the movie, and there's a whole scene at that person's house that was absolutely surprising to me. I didn't know where it was going to go, and it went in really interesting directions, and it was just kind of plopped down in the middle of this movie. And I think it's little things like that throughout this movie. There's a main girl and guy in this movie, and their relationship doesn't play out quite the way you think it might either. So a lot of ways where it could have gone one way, and it swerved just enough to keep it interesting, as well as just being very likable.
So solid recommend from you, Bruce. Solid recommend from you, Eric Holmes, regarding this movie. You thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
You really enjoyed it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just fun and kind of creepy where it needs to be creepy, funny where it needs to be funny, and charming all the way through. If you at all like horror movies, this is right up there. I think this might be like one of those kind of crossover movies. Like people that might not necessarily like horror might still dig this one.
Yeah, it isn't super duper gory, and it's got enough humor. But it does have enough gore that it isn't like too lightweight either. Would you agree? Yeah. It's like it doesn't pull punches in certain parts.
Yeah, it's kind of not as funny, but it reminds me of Shaun of the Dead in a lot of ways. Shaun of the Dead's like straight on comedy. This isn't that, but it's got that kind of like the same amount of gore, where it's enough, but it's not overbearing, I guess.
I also thought about this movie because it has some nods to American Werewolf in London. I almost thought of this movie as if you start American Werewolf in London, and if you remember the two guys go and visit that weird pub, it's almost like instead of going with the two guys away from the pub, you stayed with the pub. And like you got to see what happens with that pub.
Yeah.
And instead of werewolves, it was vampires,
Yeah, Boys from County Hell, currently streaming on Shudder, written and directed by Chris Baugh, Baugh. I really, like you said, Bruce, I really loved his previous movie. What is it? Bad Day for the Cut. Mm-hmm. That's a movie that I highly recommended.
Yep.
This movie, I recommended as well. The gore stuff is good. The I guess the second half to the third act is fantastic as far as the chase, the unveiling of the monster, all that stuff. Maybe there's going to be blood and gore. That stuff, it really ramps up. Okay. So I would recommend this movie. My only caveat, though, is Boys from County Hell. Apologies for just screwing up the moniker. I give it a little bit of a strike because I feel this movie could have been an excellent movie. I feel this movie could have been an A plus 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 classic horror film. Maybe I'm completely wrong on this. There are so many good things about this movie. First of all, I know a lot of this movie is, Bruce, you were alluding to the son who gets his construction job situation from his dad. A lot of this movie is a father-son story, which is cool. It's a male director. Get it? I get it. The star of the movie to me is Louisa Harland, who plays Claire McCann.
Yes.
She is the server, and she is dating one of the men in the movie. And I don't know. I just had this other thing in my mind. Whenever she's in frame, I wanted to follow her story. And she's so good and so locked in. Maybe, I don't know. I really wish there was more of Louisa Harland in this movie. That's a complaint. And also the world building. I checked my the time. It takes about maybe 38 to 39 minutes, half its running time, to actually get to the action, which is fine when you're world building. But the world that they were building, to me, wasn't as interesting as the second half. I wasn't as locked in. I just felt this movie really needed a little bit more of a script polish in certain ways. I just really wanted more out of this movie. This movie had the potential to be excellent, and I can't believe I'm complaining that it's merely good, because I just saw so many ways this could have gone to become this just amazing seminal movie. And I think it goes back to, Eric, what you were saying about the special effects, the way the vampires presented, which was interesting. I just thought you barely mentioned, like, there's a couple of narrative beats here and there, that you see in many other places. I wanted to see something really interesting and invigorating with the narrative, because they were working with so many good things in this movie. It just didn't completely congeal for me, but I still recommend this movie as escapist fare, wishing it would have been much more than that. My bad on that.
I would actually kind of agree with you. Just not that I had any issues with the first half hour, but yeah, maybe if they tightened it up, it probably would have kind of flowed a little fast or a little better. But that being said, by the time I got to the second half, I wasn't even thinking about the first half. But yeah, once you mentioned it, I'm like, yeah, I totally get that, and you're not wrong. But again,
right? It's still good.
It's when the rest of it's that good, it's like, oh yeah, there was that part I didn't like. Completely forgot about.
And again, it's me complaining that, oh my gosh, this is a movie that if I would give it a grade, I'd give it a solid B. But why would I? And it's still a B is a very good grade. But why hear my nitpicking that it's not an A? So my bad on that regarding Boys from County Hell. So that is currently streaming on Shudder. We are finished with our 3 main reviews. Eric Holmes, before we get to your recommendation, before we get to Bruce's recommendation, you have a rewind for this week. A quick rewind comment on Stowaway. Because last week you saw
that's right. I was like, rewind. I already talked about that.
You were halfway done with Stowaway.
Yeah.
For listeners who have not seen Stowaway on Netflix, or didn't listen to the last episode, you were excited to see the rest of Stowaway. You were on board. Bruce gave it a not a negative, like a very mixed review, and he would slightly recommend it. I was strong on it. Where do you lie on this situation regarding Stowaway?
It started falling apart a little bit for me towards the last half when they did the space. I think Bruce mentioned that when they were doing the spacewalk. And I think the biggest issue that they have with this is that a lot of the not problems story-wise, but a lot of the problems, not with the story, but with what the characters have, or the problems the characters are contending with, is that the fact that they have artificial gravity on the spacecraft. And right away, when I was air quote reviewing the movie, which I probably shouldn't have done because I didn't finish it, but like one of the things I was concerned about was like, why do they have artificial gravity? They're just going to Mars. Like, and plus you figure it'd be easier to get around inside the spaceship if you don't have any gravity. And maybe a astronaut can chime in and tell me why you would need gravity when you're just going to Mars, but it seemed to present more problems for them than it was then it helped them out, I guess.
Yeah.
And then but anyway, once they started doing the spacewalk, I was just like, okay, we're gonna kind of play fast and loose with a bunch of these ideas. So let's just, whatever. So I had to turn off my science nerd. I had to flip the science nerd switch off.
Sure.
And just kind of enjoy it from an emotional standpoint of this person's a stowaway on, no one knows how he got there. Doesn't, the end of for the story, it doesn't really matter. He's there, it's a Deus Ex Machina or what do you call it? The MacGuffin or whatever,
Sure.
It's whatever it is. But I do like that they're presented with this guy, and they want to keep him alive, and they want to do everything they can to keep him alive. And it kind of it maintained that heart and that spirit. It didn't turn into the so and so is going to get space madness and kill everyone. So on an emotional level, I still liked it a lot. On a science nerd level, I was pulling my hair out all the time.
So you would actually just on the narratives, on the storytelling aspect of Stowaway regarding the science nerd stuff, you would recommend Stowaway as a watch, but just turn your brain off on that in that sense.
Yeah. It's if you're the type of if you're Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you're listening to this, do not watch Stowaway. It'll drive you nuts. Everyone else, they can just take it for an emotional ride. I kind of liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too, and I think I liked it even more after you were doing the review, because the Deus Ex Machina, which Bruce was talking about last week, and you're talking about the MacGuffin, I clung on you regarding the MacGuffin without giving too much away. This movie is one thing if you think about all the tropes with the extra person on board who may be the killer, or he or she may be the interloper, all that kind of stuff. It starts off as one thing, but it completely becomes something else. And those kind of movies that kind of stuff doesn't happen within this kind of trope, because it's so easy, even for something like Sunshine, it's so easy to actually have that foreign object or person into the mix, and then you can just turn it into a genre-driven spectacle. And Stowaway is not. And,
also to Bruce's point from last week, I do agree. We can put a moratorium on spacewalks, at least for the foreseeable future. Like, if you're gonna do a spacewalk, do something great with it. Don't let this is where clearly someone's about to die. How do you know? They're going on a spacewalk. Why the fuck else would you have them going on a spacewalk if not to kill off a character?
Well, okay.
They didn't sing Sweet Caroline, so it's okay.
I was gonna say Sweet Caroline. Yeah, don't sing never sing Sweet Caroline. Never. If you're the Midnight Sky or bleeping Beautiful Girls. Thanks to Beautiful Girls years ago and the Midnight Sky, never Sweet Caroline, never for the next 15, 20 years. And even in 20 years from now, hopefully, even when we're all old fogies, and if we hear Sweet Caroline streaming on a Netflix movie, I'm sure that might be the literal end of each and every one of us. So no Sweet Caroline for quite a while. So that is a rewind of Stowaway, of Eric Holmes' Stowaway. Bruce, you have a recommendation this week. And I always say, Bruce, you don't have to do a recommendation. You're doing 20, 30 movies a week, but you push forward. Let's see what you got. Push forward, Bruce Purkey.
I have a really interesting documentary on Netflix called Coded Bias. And I don't know if any of you have seen this pop up on your feed. It just came out this year. It's directed by I say this name right, Shalini Kantaya.
Okay.
And this is really cool because, we live in this age of like all these conspiracy theories and QAnon and like the government and like deep state. You have all this stuff, right? Whereas you have something like this, which is much more related to what is actually happening with technology. And it's really interesting. So it starts out with this, I didn't write all the people's names down, unfortunately. This woman is doing research, and she's really into, she's at the university, and she's doing all this stuff with artificial intelligence and face recognition, all this kind of stuff. And
MIT Media Lab researcher Joy Bulamwini.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And she notices that the face recognition software doesn't recognize her. And she's an African-American woman. She puts a white, like plastic mask over her face, and it recognizes her. And then they start doing all these tests, and they find out that the percentage of what kinds of faces get recognized. White male gets recognized like, whatever. I'm just making up the percentages, but it's something like this, like 97% of the time. White women get represented, get recognized, maybe 89% of the time. Black males, 75% of the time. Black females, 68% of the time. It's like that kind of a thing. And you think, wow, this is really interesting. And of course, it goes into the idea that, this face recognition software is created by, white software engineers, and they use for their templates and for the data processing, mostly white faces, and so on and so forth. And you think, well, that's interesting. That's not really enough for a whole documentary to be based upon. But then they slowly start going into the idea of algorithms. We've all heard algorithms, right?
Yeah.
And it gets really interesting, and it starts talking about, they start going to places like London, where they will have a police van parked on the edge of the street with a camera with scanning software, just scanning faces on the street as people walk by. And if it gets matched up to someone they think is a criminal or someone to watch, they'll stop a person on the street. Stop them dead cold on the street. And guess what? If you're a person of color, it misrecognizes them more often. So you can kind of see where this is going. They show little places like there's these apartment buildings in New York where the landlord attached face recognition software in the hallways and would send photos to the residents of the people saying, like, this is you on this date with this other person, and we know that you were doing this. And they use that as a basis for how they live. And then they go to the furthest extreme. They go to someplace like China, where to get access to anything, you literally have your face scanned, and you have a rating, almost like what is your rating? Are you a 98% or are you a 75%? And if your rating is lower, you have less access to things. So anyway, this is a very, very, very interesting and somewhat scary documentary about the reality of how this kind of the algorithms and the software and the facial recognition programs are created, and how they're used and misused, and how it's kind of the Wild West of this right now. And you'll probably get pretty pissed off by the end of it, and a little scared. And it's a really cool documentary.
Daily Variety describes it as coded bias serves as both a wake-up call and a call to action. Coded Bias, it was available on Netflix. It was starting earlier on April 5th. And again, if I was doing my job, I would have opened that email that has since just been opened, thanks to Bruce Purkey, regarding Coded Bias on Netflix. So my bad on it's basically an engaging documentary, even if
it's really engaging, and it's really interesting, and they follow a whole bunch of different people. Yeah, it's really interesting, and it scratches that itch of the conspiracy theory and like this hidden stuff going on, but it actually does it with reality, which actually makes it scarier than something going off about, I don't know, aliens or whatever.
Okay, so that is it. That is Coded Bias. That's Bruce's recommendation. Eric Holmes' recommendation was actually at the top of the show with that classic movie, The Innocents. Am I correct on that assumption, Eric Holmes?
Definitely a recommend. I thought it was a rewind. I could have swore you guys were.
Someone
covered it.
That was a double rewind. You did a double rewind. Do you have no recommendations this week, because we're going to go to What's in the Box with Bruce Purkey?
Yeah, I'll save them for next week.
Save it for next week, okay?
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams. Eric Holmes will be recovering that. The reason why I joke, not because I'm assuming that he is a Cheech and Chong fan, it's just because it's more on me. I have I've never seen Up in Smoke or Nice Dreams, or even the Korskin brothers. I have not seen any of their movies. I haven't even seen Born in East LA. I heard that's a good movie. So maybe one of these days. Yeah, maybe one of these days. Maybe we'll cover.
They're both in Yellowbeard.
Yeah, Yellowbeard, which Eric Holmes. I still have to see Yellowbeard.
The richest person in the world. Yes, you're worthlessness.
And of course, Eric Holmes was he had the caveat. If I recall that you said Yellowbeard is a comedy that probably in this day and age might not be for everyone, but it's gonna be not one bit. Bruce Purkey, what do you got for us for your weekly What's in the Box segment?
Well, I have the 1963 movie Charade. I don't know if either of you actually got around to watching it.
I didn't get around because people under the stairs. My fault on that. Yes.
This is suggested by Andrew Martin. Andrew watches movies still. We believe it's out there. Kind of like the aliens. They're out there.
It's definitely out there.
This is available. You can find this all over the place. Amazon Prime. I watched it on Amazon Prime. Be warned, there are multiple versions on Amazon Prime. I started watching one that was not widescreen. I thought this movie most assuredly was widescreen. There's another version on there that's widescreen. So yeah, find the one that's widescreen. But I switched pretty quickly. So this is directed by Stanley Donen. I thought when I first saw it that forever I thought this was directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, right. Because you thought it was To Catch a Thief. You thought it was To Catch a Thief.
Actually, I thought it was Topaz. I thought back about it. I thought it was Topaz. But this is thought by many to be Alfred Hitchcock movie. And I guess it's known as kind of the best Alfred Hitchcock movie that Alfred Hitchcock didn't have anything to do with. So that's kind of the way they talk about this movie. So let me just give you a quick rundown of some of the people in this movie, if you don't know. Cary Grant, Audrey Hepburn, Walter Matthau.
We love Walter Matthau from Hopscotch.
James Coburn, George Kennedy.
Yes.
So
very good.
This star-studded. This movie is as promised. It's like, oh, and by the way, Stanley Donen, if you don't know, is very famous director, Singing in the Rain. He's done a ton of things. This movie is just kind of like the crowd-pleasing version of those kind of espionage, twisty, but also somewhat comedic kind of movies you can imagine from that era. The basic concept is it starts out with Regina, Audrey Hepburn's character. Her husband falls off a train dead. And then you see her just kind of partying up in the Alps and stuff before she goes back to Paris. And she's talking to her girlfriend about wanting to divorce her husband. She doesn't love him anymore. She gets back. The apartment that they lived in, or the house, or what, it's kind of like a big apartment, in Paris, very fancy, is cleared out, emptied. Apparently, before she got back, he auctioned off everything they had, sold everything, and then was murdered. Cut to CIA agent Walter Matthau telling her that he was a spy. He'd been a spy forever, and that, he had a bunch of money, and watch out, people are going to be looking for this money. And then you go very quickly to his funeral, and she's sitting there at the funeral, and in walks James Coburn. He walks up to the corpse, puts a mirror in front of the face to make sure he's dead, and walks out. In comes George Kennedy, really mad. He pokes the corpse with a needle to make sure he's really dead, and walks out all angry. And then another guy comes in and does something similar. So that kind of sets up the whole set. All these guys are after the money. They all think she knows where it's at. Cary Grant is the kind of dashing guy that she randomly meets, or did she randomly meet him? And so the adventure begins. You can't go wrong with this movie. It's fun. It's got twists. It's got all the kind of things you'd expect from Audrey Hepburn, Cary Grant movie. It never plods. It's very, fast paced, got really great characters, and a really good, simple plot, but twisty. You know what I mean? Like, you've got all these colorful characters, all trying to get money and possibly kill each other to get the money. Pretty simple.
Is it breezy? It's a breezy affair. Would you call it,
breezy is a good way to put it. If you haven't seen Cary Grant's comedic chops, he's definitely comedic in some roles. He's older in this movie. That's one of his later movies. He's really damn funny in some of the spots in this movie. You wouldn't expect that.
When they say, would this, okay, like it's not on the level of, like, say, you mentioned Hitchcock. It's not on the level of like North by Northwest. It's not on that level, right?
No, because I think the thrills, this is much more comedic. So this is more of a comedic, adventurous kind of movie. with some slightly thrilling aspects, but it doesn't ever have that suspense level that you get with a Hitchcock, and it never has quite that stylish like filming quality in the way that Hitchcock does. But it's a lot of fun, you know. This is like more of a crowd pleasing kind of movie.
Crowd pleasing, but did it pleasantly surprise you? Because I think one of the reasons maybe none of us have seen it is I was thinking it's going to be an empty caloric affair that I don't think I'm going to watch. And the only reason why I gave this movie weight is, to be honest, is when Andrew Martin put it in the box for you to watch and me to eventually watch, and hopefully Eric Holmes watches it as well.
I think that, I mean, some people might take it that way, but I think that it's just a really solid, entertaining movie from the era, and it's entertaining still today. And I think that can't be said about a lot of movies of that type in that era. I think a lot of those age out kind of poorly. I think this one ages really well.
Eric Holmes, were you ever a Cary Grant fan? Have you ever seen any Cary Grant movies? I'm sure you've seen North by Northwest or anything right off the top of your head. I think you did see People Will Talk, the movie that I think is one of my favorite movies. But other than People Will Talk, what have you seen from Cary Grant?
I don't think I've seen People Will Talk.
Oh, really?
I'm sure. Like, the weird thing about Cary Grant is like his face didn't pop up in my head, and I was thinking I saw Charade, but then Bruce started describing it. I'm like, I don't think that was it. And now I'm trying to think of what the movie I thought was Charade actually is.
That's what happened to me. I thought I'd seen it too. I hadn't.
But yeah, I was gonna watch it. I was gonna try to cram it in today, but I got off too late. But I'm definitely gonna watch it, and it'll either be one of those things where I watch and go, okay, yeah, this is the movie I was thinking of, or no, not at all. And we'll find out. But now it's just bugging me what the movie I think is Charade actually is.
Well, you know what, Eric Holmes, if you probably watch it next week, I'm going to join with you. We'll do maybe a rewind together for Charade, or how my pretentious self likes to say charade. We can do that. The Stanley Donen film, or Donen. I like to call him Donen. But here, to Bruce's point.
What else did he do? Because that name sounds really familiar. Yeah. And thinking we talked about him like not too long ago.
Yeah, again, I think that Bruce mentioned Singing in the Rain. That's his classic movie. He is a studio director. That's his.
Is he the Dancing on the Ceiling guy?
Ooh, you know what? He might have directed Lionel Richie in Dancing on the Ceiling. When did he pass away? 2019.
And the old movie where they did that same effect, but it was like what?
Yes, it might have been that Fred Astaire film, because I think he starred. Yeah, it might be. It could be. Other movies he did is The Pajama Game, Indiscreet, Damn Yankees, one of my favorites, starring Two for the Road, and Albert Finney. Yeah, Albert Finney. Audrey Hepburn starred in the 1967 Stanley Donen film called Two for the Road. I love that film a lot. He also directed Bedazzled. So he's done. Oh, also he did one of my favorites growing up as a 13-year-old, Blame It on Rio. He did that movie with Michael Caine.
Oh God.
Yes, Blame It on Rio, Michael Caine and Joseph Bologna. And then, if you're 13, and I was 13 when I first saw it, so it's definitely appealed to my hormones.
You were probably more age appropriate to like it than Michael Caine was in that movie. So
yes. You know what? Blame It on Rio. That might be one of those movies we should watch down the road, just because of how possibly that is not a very cool movie to watch these days, right? Yeah.
Probably not.
It stars Michelle Johnson and Demi Moore. So Bruce and I definitely probably checked that movie out when we were teenagers back in the 1980s. Okay, so we're moving on from Charade. By the way, Charade listeners, it's available to stream and rent anywhere. Stream it, Prime Video, like Bruce said. Go for the widescreen, but it's also available on so many other. Yeah, YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna get to YouTube in a second, Eric Holmes. Thanks for reminding me. Hoopla, Voodoo Free, Tubi, Canopy, Mubi, Pluto TV. It's everywhere. Shout TV, everywhere. For most of the run of Find Your Film, I continue to hammer Eric Holmes about his YouTube fixation and just purchasing movies on YouTube when he actually has all these streaming services. And you know what? I have come around to the love of YouTube. One of the reasons why I'm assuming Eric Holmes will just pay double to watch a movie on YouTube when it's probably the Blu-rays right there on his wall, or he has Shudder and he could actually just rifle through Shudder. It's because YouTube is so deceptive, so obviously and deceptively, maybe obviously so convenient. I watched The People Under the Stairs, which you guys will hear after we close this podcast, our discussion with Chad Wilfong on The People Under the Stairs. I forgot to mention this on our segment. The way I was only able to watch this, because time is of the essence for all three of us, I had to watch about 40 minutes of it walking home from the bank to the house. So I purchased it as soon as I left my house with deposited my $10 crypto profit. I used $3.99 on my YouTube and I was thinking of Eric Holmes. I go, darn it, Eric Holmes is right. After all this time, and I downloaded for rental The People Under the Stairs. As I walked back to my domicile, 40 minutes worth of walking just to get the cardio going. Most of it was watching The People Under the Stairs. Obviously, I don't recommend watching a movie while you're walking home, because yes, you may die because a car might hit you. So please, it's not endorsed by Eric Holmes or
The people under the cars.
The people under the cars, which include, yes, it could have been me today just to watch The People Under the Stairs and join in on that Chad Wilfong discussion.
What's the number thing one thing you don't do while watching a movie? Check your phone? No, that's not it. Talk while the movie's playing? Nope. That's pretty bad, but that's not the number one worst thing you can do while watching a movie. Greg, why don't you tell them what the worst thing you can do while watching a movie?
Well, possibly watching a movie on your iPhone, most importantly, not because of that, watching a movie while you're walking home. Oh, and maybe while you're crossing the street as well. So probably if you don't hear from me and there is someone, if Andrew Martin or someone else is moderating Find Your Film in a couple of weeks, it's because I suddenly am a YouTube addict and I might have been watching Charade on the way home.
And whatever you do, don't watch and drive. For God's sakes, do not watch a movie while driving.
Yeah, for God's sakes, goodness sakes, don't watch while you drive. And you know what? Honestly, don't watch while you walk. But you know what? One solid recommendation is, please, if you have any movies you would like us to see, most importantly, for Bruce Purkey to see, email brucepurkey at brucepurkey@gmail.com or chat him up on the Cinematics Facebook group and suggest a movie, because right now Bruce Purkey is going to pick next week's movie, next week's What's in the Box selection.
What precious is this Bruce have in the box?
Before I do
What's in the box?
Very good, Eric Holmes. I love that. Very precious, my precious. Yes, Eric.
Before I
yes,
do that.
Yes, sir.
I did get some physical media in the mail today.
Oh,
one of them is Rain.
Very cool. Rain. Okay. Yes. After Bruce watches it,
I'll be watching that, and then I'm sending it off to Greg, I guess, so
yes,
we can watch
cool.
it, right?
Very cool. Yes.
But I also got a box from Entertain Mart that I ordered.
Oh,
I wonder what's there.
Oh, box from it.
Oh, Bruce, please tell us what is the precious is in the box.
Different box.
Very good, Eric. That's a very good voice. I love that.
Well, it's not all movies. I did get a record, so you don't probably care about that. But it's here's the record. So
what's the record? It's Billy Joel, the Piano Man. But
it's actually Granddaddy, the software slump, played on an upright piano. But more interesting to our interests are the Blu-ray of Phase 4, a Saul Bass film.
Oh, very cool. Phase 4. Okay. I don't know if that's any Saul Bass. I was thinking Saul Bass with the Charade poster. I wonder if
so that's all the Marvel movies, Phase 4 Marvel movies, or
yes. Well, unlike most Marvel movies, this is only 84 minutes, so I'll just tell you that. So.
Phase 4 Saul Bass.
This is the only movie directed by Saul Bass. So I will be talking about that in the future.
Okay, very cool. You just on a whim, Bruce? On a whim, you decided?
No, I've seen this movie before, and it's always held a weird place in my heart, and I think it's a strange movie that no one ever talks about. So
very
I
cool.
will be talking about it at some point. Okay, back to the box.
Yes, very cool. Phase 4, Saul Bass. Very cool.
Hey, what's in the box?
What's in the box?
What you got? You got a box there? What's in it, man?
I don't know yet. I don't know. Stop talking to me so much. It's kind of crazy.
Unbox the box.
I'm doing it. I'm on my plate. I'm trying. It's like
fiddling with the box and just reach in and grab it. What's in there?
Oh,
yes. What is it?
Okay, I don't know how to say this. Suggested by Nathan Day.
Author Nathan Day, by the way.
Totsi? How do you say
Totsi? It's Totsi. It's Totsi. Ooh, very good choice.
2005 by Gavin Hood, which I bought the DVD or the Blu-ray of about 3 months ago because I knew this was in the box somewhere, waiting for it to come up. So I will watch physical media of this movie.
Okay, and this is a movie called Sotsi. It was released in 2005, directed by Gavin Hood, co-penned by Gavin Hood. Eric Holmes has been a avowed fan of Gavin Hood, if I recall, because you appreciated some of his movies.
Yeah, he gets so much shit for the the Wolverine movie, but he makes some bangers. I'll say that right now.
He does make some bangers.
Quite the talented filmmaker. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yes, Official Secrets, which Eric Holmes really enjoyed from 2019. Eric Holmes also enjoyed, and I'm assuming Bruce Purkey and I also enjoyed Eye in the Sky, released in 2015. I might be the one out of the only three who really thought Ender's Game was awesome from 2013. No other comments regarding I loved Ender's Game. Bruce, no, Eric, no. Okay, and then he also directed Rendition, which I haven't seen, and then X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I think Eric Holmes says is his favorite out of the entire comic book. Well, I'm sorry, no, that was wrong. That was wrong.
I mean, it's fine. It's just
a movie.
That's a way you grab a talented filmmaker and waste them.
Oh wow. And maybe I'm denigrating myself here, but I was actually a fan of X-Men Origins Wolverine. Bruce Purkey, you gonna break the tie? X-Men Origins Wolverine, worth it? Not? No comment from Bruce Purkey. Okay, no. Okay, so that is Sotsi. That will be reviewed next week from Bruce Purkey. Eric Holmes and I, if we have the time next week, we're gonna figure out what movies we're gonna review next week. Maybe Charade might be on our docket as well, and also on our docket this weekend. This is a last minute situation. Okay, so it was originally going to be Jacques Van Dormiel. We were going to review Toto the Hero and Mr. Nobody. The problem is Arrow Video, Bruce tried to order it and he did order it. They are not sending him the disc as of yet. So it might take a while. So we're going to get to Toto the Hero, which is one of my all-time favorite movies, down the road. Until then, we're going to spotlight one of my favorite filmmakers, director Sidney Lumet. Okay, we're only going to cover 2 films. The Pawnbroker, which I haven't seen. Have any of you guys seen The Pawnbroker before? Yet? No? Yeah. Oh, you have. Eric Holmes has. Okay. Eric Holmes is just nodding his head. He doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want to spoil
the action. I forgot it was on the. Yeah. Go ahead. Never mind.
Oh yeah. No worries. No worries. And by the way, Eric Holmes is also a big fan of Sidney Lumet. Does that mean Bruce Purkey? Am I leaving you out here? Are you a big fan, or you can catch can regarding the movies, the work of Sidney Lumet?
Oh, I like Sidney Lumet's movies quite a bit. Yes.
Okay, very cool. So the movies we're doing is The Pawnbroker. The reason why I chose that because I haven't seen it yet. Bruce has not seen it yet. Eric Holmes has seen it. Okay, so we're gonna do The Pawnbroker. I believe it stars Rod Steiger, released in 1964. And the other movie, I forgot what year it was released, is this movie called Night Falls on Manhattan. It stars Andy Garcia. And the reason why is both of these movies, as we're recording this, they're currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video, but you never know with Amazon Prime Video. Bruce Purkey and I could be starting to watch Night Falls on Manhattan and they'll just take it off. But hopefully check those 2 out currently as of this recording on Amazon Prime Video. Night Falls on Manhattan was released in 1996. In my opinion, a very underrated Lumet film. That's what I felt the first time I saw it. Last time I saw it in 96. Maybe, who knows, hopefully by then, hopefully it's a good movie. So that's it. Lumet this weekend. Chad Wilfong coming up after we sign off, or I'm going to put Chad Wilfong somewhere in the show. Anyways, tell us what you think about our show. Please,
it's either coming up or you already heard it.
It's somewhere. Chad's going to be somewhere in the show. Eric Holmes, you wanna say something before we go?
Thank you, Chad Wilfong, for coming on the show and talking about people on the stairs, whether you heard it already or you're about to hear it. Yeah, I can't wait to watch Charade this week and see if I actually seen it or not. That'll be a fun surprise.
Yes,
I love that my brain's just turning into mush.
Yes, all of our brains are turning into mush as always. Bruce Purkey, any witticisms before we go?
Betty loves you. Betty loves you.
Okay. That is a foreshadowing of a movie that Eric Holmes and Bruce Purkey, how dare they actually watch a movie that we're not going to be covering in 2-3 weeks. That just means they're doing much better homework than I am on a given basis. Okay, so that's Benny Loves You. You're gonna hear about it soon, and maybe next week, or I don't know, 2 weeks. But Bruce, when? Next week? Is it next week?
I think it's next week.
It's
I think, isn't it?
It's gonna be one of these things.
I don't know.
We don't know. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to Find Your Film, and have a great week watching film. Bye. All right, hey everyone, we're back with our Find Your Film segment, where I believe it's kind of co-sponsored by Entertain Mart and Eric Holmes. Eric Holmes, can you introduce our listeners, maybe our watchers on YouTube? Our wonderful guest is this week on Find Your Film. How does it tie in with your segment regarding Entertain Mart and your physical media stuff?
Well, our wonderful guest is Chad Wilfong. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. And yes.
I was gonna clap. Yes, I'm gonna a little clap. Thank you, Chad, for joining us.
We do the Entertainment gift card giveaways once in a bit, and we always like to, the people that win them, we like to have them on and talk about regale us with stories of their spoils. And I believe today we're talking about one such thing is people under the stairs. But yeah, I'd like to introduce everyone to Chad. And beyond that, I'd kind of like to get your take on, this is my brain.
This is okay.
I'd like to know your take on, like, once you've got the card, how process, because it's kind of wonky, but we figure the more people we got on here explaining how they do it, the easier it is for those when they do win them.
Yeah, it was pretty simple. I know you can't use it online, but you can call whatever store. If you find what you're looking for online, you can call that particular store, and then they'll actually mail it out to you. And then I got another gift card from them for the shipping. They just kind of reimbursed the shipping, like $4 shipping. So you can't use that online, but you can use it in store. So I don't know if every store does that, but it was pretty simple. Took like 3 days. I think I got it.
That's pretty cool, Chad. I got a pointed question. You are a very great contributor to our Cinematics Facebook group. You're one of the first members. I count on you, even though I don't respond to your posts, because unlike Bruce, Purkey, and Eric Holmes, I usually during the week, unless it's a giveaway, I think you know this, Chad, I'm a big hermit. I do my podcast with here and then with Anderson, and then I crawl under a rock. Chad Wilfong, you actually on a weekly basis, you give us our just movie recommendations, movies you've seen every single week. And my question to you is regarding this: with all of the different movies you see every week, why did you pick The People Under the Stairs, written and directed by Wes Craven, as the movie you wanted to actually purchase regarding with your gift card?
I think it's because I recently joined a Scream Factory group, and they were just talking about movies that are out of print. And I actually bought some in the past year for like $13 that are now selling on eBay for like $100.
Please tell me you're
asking for them.
Please tell me you're flipping those. Please tell me because I would flip those, because I really secretly don't like movies. I'd rather just flip them for a profit. Tell me, Chad, are you on my side? Are you flipping it for the money, or are you really?
No, I'm gonna keep it. Yeah, no, I may sell them one day, but as of right now, I'm gonna keep them. So yeah, I just saw The People Under the Stairs, and I just kind of looked to see what they had, and I saw that it was a good price, and not that it's like expensive one. I think you can still get it on Amazon for like under $20. And I just decided to get some Scream Factory thing instead of just something I could just walk into Walmart or whatever and buy.
Were you ever okay? So you're Scream Factory, but were you ever a big Wes Craven guy? I mean, you and me and Bruce, we were talking before Eric jumped on about The Last House on the Left. That said, is Wes Craven a director that you've always loved throughout most of your life? Yeah, I
do like some stuff of his. I do like Nightmare on Elm Street and the Screams. I know stuff like he did in the late 80s and 90s I probably didn't pay attention to because I wasn't a big horror guy back then. I'm more now. But I remember going to the theater and seeing Shocker and stuff like that and kind of enjoying him. But I know he's one of the greats of the horror genre. But he's not one of my favorites, but he does make, I guess, for the most part, quality horror movies.
And Bruce and Eric, where does Wes land for you as far as filmmakers, horror filmmakers, genre filmmakers? Is he overlooked? Is he underrated? Where do you guys stand regarding Wes on this?
I definitely not overlooked. I think people are pretty well aware of who Wes Craven is. I did find out because I knew he did. He wanted to. I've heard that he wanted to step outside the horror genre, and I think he did twice. I know the one he did with the short and Paris Je t'aime, that movie. And then there was another one that I just heard about last week, and I can't remember.
Music of My Heart, starring Meryl
There you
Streep.
go.
Yes,
That's the one.
Yeah.
So I need to check that out and see if because I've only ever seen his horror movies, and I like them.
By the way, I think Music of My Heart might be Bruce Purkey's favorite Wes Craven film. I think secretly. Is that true, Bruce Purkey? Is that correct?
That or Deadly Friend maybe would be.
Oh, Deadly Friend.
Very good. Playing along with the sarcasm. You know, in fairness, Chad, I haven't even seen Shocker. I saw the poster when I was, I believe, in college, and that scared me. So I decided not to see see Shocker. And Deadly Friend, I never got around to it. But we're talking about the people under the stairs. I was a UCLA Daily Bruin movie critic, and I don't remember if I actually reviewed this movie or if some other movie critic reviewed it, because when I saw it, I barely remembered anything about the people under the stairs. To be honest, when you picked it, Chad, and Eric told us, I was going, oh, I don't know, Wes Craven movie. I don't know if I'm going to like it. And
Right.
I want to throw it out to you first, Chad. What your thoughts, because you like a lot of Craven stuff, and some of them you're iffy on, mediocre regarding
Right.
this. Did this movie surprise you? Did you like it? Where does it land on your Craven list?
Well, I've seen it before. I remember seeing it in the theater, and I guess I kind of liked it and saw it on cable a couple times. And I've always kind of liked the movie, but I didn't think it was great. But I wanted to revisit it, and I just was surprised at like how dark and kind of, I guess the word would be subversive or whatever, like with the characters, especially the well, I don't want to spoil it, but the couple that live in the house. That was like, I don't even know if that would it's pretty dark, like some of the stuff that they do, but it's probably, it wouldn't be in my top 10 horror films or anything like that, but I mean, it's a pretty solid movie for, I guess, for the time. And it's kind of relevant with some of the social issues that they bring up in it a lot.
Definitely. The movie was released in 1991. I remember, I think I did see this movie, and I was expecting a big slasher movie or something really shocking like The Last House on the Left. So maybe 29 years ago, maybe I didn't give this movie too much credit. Regarding the couple that Chad Wilfong talks about, they live in this really beautiful home. The exterior home looks like a really nice mansion, old school mansion, but when you go inside, it's a serpentine. What is the word, Bruce? It's labyrinthine, whatever, maze-like structure inside this beautiful home but it's very scary. The main characters, a couple, they're just named man and woman. The man is played by Everett McGill. The woman is played by Wendy. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Robie. I'm just gonna say Robbie. Now we already talked before we're recording this. If you don't know Everett and Wendy, you've seen them a million times, especially if you're a huge Twin Peaks fan. So I'm assuming a lot of Bruce, are we assuming that a lot of Twin Peaks fans just by default have seen the people under the stairs because it's pretty much carried by the couple that Chad was mentioning?
Probably. I mean, I think there's quite a bit of crossover between Lynch, Twin Peaks fans, and Wes Craven's fans. I think that's probably pretty clear. So yeah, sure.
Eric Holmes. So were you excited when Chad Wilfong decided to choose this movie as his entertainment purchase?
Oh yeah, I'm always excited to watch people under the stairs. It's like I remember when it came out, because just the title, it just seems silly, and it is, but it's kind of like They Live. I was expecting They Live to be just straight up dumb, and one day I was in the mood to watch something dumb, and I watch it and I'm like, oh, this is not dumb. This is definitely cheesy in parts, but it's and People Under the Stairs is kind of the same way. I was expecting a stupid movie when I first saw it, and you know, it is stupid sometimes, but it's pretty smart other times. And as Chad said, it gets dark, and it's I think this would make a good double feature with Hellraiser. And I don't think people realize how close those two movies are. Like if you rewatch both of them, it's like, wow, these are like sequels to each other.
The main character in this movie is a person named, he's just known as Fool, played by Brandon Quinton Adams. You might know him as one of the kids from The Sandlot. I don't know him as one of the kids of The Sandlot, since I think I'm one of the only person among the four who has not seen The Sandlot. And for one time in my life, I used to be a big baseball fan. So I'm sure all of you guys have seen The Sandlot. Brandon Quinton Adams is really the main character. It's him. There's another girl, AJ Langer. She plays this girl appropriately named Alice. Okay, Alice, and she is the daughter, as you might think she's a daughter of the man and woman, and she's held captive in the house by this couple, and she's often terrorized and abused by this couple. The moniker, the people under the stairs, we've already had to talk about this. This is not a spoiler, there are people under the stairs. We are not going to talk about the world, who they are, what they are. Are they monsters? Are they creatures? Are they evil? We're not going to talk about that. But I think, going to Chad's point about the social document, were you surprised at how, personally, my personal take is this movie, again, 1991, it doesn't feel really dated. It feels, without getting too much away, regarding what Wes Craven was trying to talk about regarding gentrification, property rights, racism. Do you feel like you appreciated it a little bit more now than before, Chad, as far as like rewatching this time around?
Yeah, I would say so, because I probably was I think I was in high school when I saw it the first time, so I probably didn't even pay attention to it, or didn't even necessarily care about that stuff or whatever. You know, I just was there for the blood and guts, you know. And but then, yeah, it's very relevant still today, and I've heard that they're gonna do a remake
Oh, really?
of it,
Wow.
but that's been going on for years, so who knows if it will ever get remade. But yeah, it's very, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Let's see.
Yeah, it's got a lot of points that are still relevant today.
Yeah, I was surprised, Eric. I was surprised how scary this movie was, and it's written by Wes Craven. So you know what, this movie actually, so you're pretty much the expert, Eric, because you've seen it over the years quite a bit.
Expert is generous, but I have seen it more than
more than how many? Because
times.
you're the one who you're the ultimate rewatcher. How many times have you actually seen this movie? Maybe 3 times.
Yeah, probably about 4 times. 4 or 5 times, maybe.
Okay, 4 or 5 times. That's a low number compared to some of the Aaron Sorkin movies you've watched over the years. But again,
I'll watch those 5 times in a week.
five times in a bleeping week. I feel that this movie's. Do you guys feel that this movie's underrated? Because when you talk about Wes Craven, you talk about the controversy of The Last House on the Left. You talk about the Scream franchise. Bruce, can you give me some more Craven classics that people, when they think of Wes Craven, they say?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
I never heard of that. Yeah, that's a good one too. Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay. How dare you laugh at me, Eric Holmes? Eric, what do you think? What do you think? The People Under the Stairs, Chad, what do you think? Do you think that's it's underrated among his oeuvre? Because I feel that this movie is it's underrated for people who aren't Craven enthusiasts. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, I'd say so. It's because who he is. He's, because of Elm Street and Last House on the Left and Scream, it's gonna take over. You know, those are gonna outshine, I guess, his other films because they're so big and so well liked. But I think it's probably one of his closer to the top of his films. It's better than Shocker. You know, I don't know about Serpent in the Rainbow. It's been forever since I've seen that, so I don't know how it compares to that. But
I haven't seen that in over 30 years. Eric Holmes, you probably saw it last week 5 times. Did you see Serpent in the Rainbow, Eric Holmes? Have you seen Eric Holmes? Eric Holmes, have you seen the Serpent in the Rainbow?
I don't believe I've seen that one.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think so.
Bruce Purkey, you're a big. You're Bruce Purkey.
Yeah, it's a weird one for sure. I think, and what we're pointing out is, I think what is kind of when he's out of his franchises, which are all like versions, but good versions of the slasher genre, when he gets outside of that, he really tries weird things. Like he tries unusual concepts and interesting concepts. And I think that's part of the problem with something like People Under the Stairs, is that like, how do they market that movie? I mean, and how does the audience go into it and know what they're going to get? They don't. So I think that it's kind of bound by that to be hard for everyone to latch on to. But
well, you could even say that his franchise movies are pretty weird. Because I mean, we know Scream and we know Nightmare on Elm Street because they made so many of them. But if the Nightmare on Elm Street movie was the one that no one knew, like you had People Under the Stairs 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on, and there was only one Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, there's this really strange move that Wes Craven did. Not a lot of people know about, but it's about this pedophile that gets into kids' dreams and kills them.
But I think that all those that we're talking about, they were like weird versions of the genre that was already popular. You know what I mean? So I think they had that built-in audience, and they still like paid off on those basic beats. They still gave you the basic expectations. Whereas this movie, what is it paying off to people? Like, what are they're not knowing exactly. Like, I think the comparison you gave to like something like Hellraiser, or honestly, like David Lynch. I mean, this movie is weird, and it doesn't fit quite into any of those genres. So I think that's part of the problem.
Kind of turns into Beastmaster at the last half.
It's like,
yeah, and I think the movie is more funny than most of his movies. As well as darkly funny. I guess all of his movies have darkly comedic moments in it, but I just found this time when I watched it, I noticed the dark comedy or dark humor way more. I laughed every time when they said "burn in hell" or whatever they were saying.
Burn in hell.
I don't know about you guys, but every time I watch this, I just always want to run around the house in my gimp suit and shoot my shotgun into just holes in the wall.
We were talking about great like movies to pair this with. You could also pair this with, I think, is The Burbs. Okay. Yeah, I think you could pair this with The Burbs. And if you can get into that, it's different and the vibe is different. But that idea of this really twisted, different version of kind of this suburban 80s, it's kind of, they're both kind of social satires at the same time as they're also kind of.
Then it's got a very large house. It doesn't make the best use of its square footage.
Yeah. That house is amazing. You know what you were mentioning, Chad, Scream Factory. Do you have any recommendations for our listeners for just movies on physical media that you really love that you've purchased since you joined that group? And
oh man, I don't know. I noticed that I like a lot of this John Carpenter stuff that's on the Scream Factories, like Escape from New York and They Live, like they mentioned. Eric mentioned earlier. Event Horizon just came out and I bought it. I haven't watched it. I mean, I've seen it before, but I haven't watched it since I got it. But Scream Factory is like kind of like Criterion in a lot of ways, where they're kind of like, I guess, higher priced in some areas sometimes. But I mean, I guess they're, I don't know. I've just got so much stuff. I got too much stuff.
You've got too much stuff.
I don't know what to recommend.
I used to get Scream Factory a lot too. Their stuff is high price, but you mentioned really accurately Criterion. Both of those distributors, they have really good extras. They both have.
Yeah, the extras, like I got the Friday the 13th box set, and I'm not a huge fan of those movies, but I'm glad I got the set because it was cheap, because I didn't get the Halloween set, and I'm kicking myself all the time because I didn't get that. And there's a couple of Friday the 13th movies I do not really care for, but then when I watched the extras, it gave me a little bit more appreciation for them, because some of those Friday the 13th movies are a little rough.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think I've ever seen. Where should I start off with, Bruce? Just start off with the first one, and then should I stop after that?
Part 5.
Well, on the Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Friday the 13th. Are any of those good? Some of them are. Eric, anything? Are you going to defend any of those or what?
Start with Never Hike Alone. It's a Friday the 13th short. No, it's kind of distilled Friday the 13th. So, and then if you like it, you're like, hey, that was fun. Then just go back and check the rest of them out.
It depends if you're in a Crispin Glover mood or if you're in a Kevin Bacon mood, which one you should start with.
Okay, very cool. So that is The People Under the Stairs. I really love this movie. I really, honestly, I was surprised at how good this movie was. So I was pleasantly surprised. And actually, if you said you got it on DVD, Chad, is Blu-ray or
Got it
DVD?
on the Blu-ray. Yeah, Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna purchase that on Blu-ray. And Eric, do you have that on Blu-ray as well or DVD?
Somewhere, not on me, but yeah, I
Somewhere,
got I got it laying around here somewhere.
Okay, cool. So that is the People Under the Stairs, reviewed by Chad Wilfong. Chad, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything else to say before you go? Anything to plug? Anything you want to say?
No, I guess I'll just say thanks, Eric, for the gift card, and thank you guys for having me on. And I like being in the group.
Yeah, we love having
showing
you, man.
stuff or whatever. I just got too much time on my hands. There's always a TV show playing in the background, even if I'm not 100% focusing on it. It's playing in the background.
Oh, actually, since you're here,
Yeah.
because you always usually post like a bunch of frames or posters of the movies you saw for the week.
What was that now?
You usually post pictures of the movies you saw for the week on the Cinematics Facebook. You don't happen to remember what? Like, just do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down on all of those, because I always see you put them on there. I'm like, oh, what do you think of that one?
Right. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I want to do that. I always forget to do that. So I've done it in the past a couple times, but yeah, I know some people do it. I probably should do it more, because that might get I do watch a lot of stuff that maybe some people wouldn't check out. I know I watched that Adverse movie, I think it was, with Mickey Rourke and Thomas Ian Nichols. That's kind of new. Yeah. It really wasn't that great of a movie, but I kind of appreciated what they did. But once it got towards the end, they started having some bad CGI with blood and stuff. But I mean, it wasn't a complete waste of time. But I probably should do that a little bit more than just posting it. Yeah. I guess I'm put it on there so to see what people say, and then I comment back. I know Bruce said something about El Topo.
Yeah. I just love the combination, because he has always so many because I know you like a lot of B movies and on as well as like art movies, and the fact that you've got something like People Under the Stairs and then El Topo, that speaks to my heart, because I might have one week where I watch Prisoner Number whatever Scorpion, and then I might watch some Scandinavian art house movie. So I've
never seen any of his movies before, and I said I'll finally watch it. I thought it was definitely a strange one. But I knew that going in, it was going to be strange, but I liked it visually. I kept the visual side of it. I loved it. I don't really
look into Santa Sangre by him, which I think he made in the 80s. Look into that one.
Yeah. I got a friend, Julian, which is in the group as well.
Yeah.
He, I think, recommended Santa Sangre.
Yeah.
To me to check out.
Chad, well, thank you so much for your time. And I guess we will see you soon in the group. And, thanks for coming on, buddy.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.